I was trying to think of a present for my father, and I wanted the gift to sort of fulfil lots of needs. I wanted to get him something that was personal, that he could interact with beyond Christmas, that would cheer him up because he was feeling a bit low. He was having health problems and personal problems, and I just didn't think a wallet or a pair of socks would cut the mustard. And I wanted it also to be something that was uniquely from me, something that I perhaps could make, something homemade. So the idea just came. It was sort of a eureka moment. I thought, why don't I buy a notebook and fill it with life writing prompts and give it to him and show him, make him feel treasured, make him feel that I was actually interested in him. And at the same time as that idea came, I thought, well, who wouldn't want a book to give to their parent, or to give to a relative, or to give to a friend, or even to give to a young person at a sort of formative time in their life, to get them to write about their life. And at that point, I called Anthony.
Yeah, I was just sitting at my desk trying to think of ideas, as I normally do. The phone went and Eve was full of energy, full of enthusiasm, and she said, I've got a great idea. And she told me about it, and I thought, it's a fantastic idea. She had the title, The Accidental Memoir, and she said, I'm going to get it for my father, I'm going to make one for my father. What sort of thing can we put into this book? We've both been working together for years. We've both been teaching creative writing for a long, long time. So we've got access to prompts and ideas and ways to help people draw on their memories and express themselves. So we just worked on a variety of ideas to put into the journal she made for her father over Christmas time, and then in January.
And then I basically gave him the book. I think he was pleased. He wasn't sort of overwhelmed. He's not a talkative man. In fact, he talks very little. He doesn't communicate his feelings, and that for me, I was waiting to see. I thought, if it works with my dad, it'll work with anybody. So I waited for about a month. He came to my house with his book, and he'd written in it, and he'd written stuff that I didn't know. He'd written in an emotive way. He'd written about feelings. He'd told me things about his life that I didn't know, that were unexpected, and he'd enjoyed the process. So we're talking now about a man on the cusp of 80, about a man who has never written, who worked in a fish and chip shop for 50 years of his life, who's never written, would never consider himself a writer, and responding to a prompt in the book. That this is the prompt. Is there someone you miss, a parent, a close friend or sibling? What reminds you of them? When's the last time you saw them? What do you miss? He wrote this. The one and only person I miss is my brother Andreas. He was always there when needed and ready to give advice. He was kind and thoughtful and would do anything for anybody, even strangers. I saw him last in 1974, just before he was captured in the Cyprus invasion. And then I saw him dead at a place in Nicosia where they kept all the missing persons' remains. It was ironic, but it felt like he was there in person. I felt a shudder going through my body. I felt he was going to talk to me. I mean, I found that really emotional. And sort of what it proved to me is that a simple prompt presented in the right way can unearth a very powerful story.
And it's not the sort of thing that you would normally sit down on a Sunday with your parents and ask them those sorts of questions. You wouldn't sit down and start saying, what do you think about your name? Who do you miss in life? What were your favourite meals when you were young? My parents died, my dad died 8 years ago, and I never asked him these sorts of questions, and now I wish I had asked him these sorts of questions. So I think the book is a way of collecting memories from people. It's a way of helping younger people. It's a way of helping all sorts of people, I think, to unearth their stories and tell their stories. I've worked in schools with the book, and 13 and 14-year-olds love some of the prompts in the book, and they find they've got a lot to draw on and a lot to sort of express.
Yeah, everybody can write, everybody should write, and life writing is the easiest, quickest way in, because we are all experts of our own life, and nobody can write our story. Our story is full of activity, emotion, all the things that make good writing, and that's what we wanted everybody to try. Writing doesn't have to be hard. It can be fun. It's sort of life affirming.
And it's quite daunting as well. If you think, I want to write my memoirs, which lots of people will think that, it's just, where do I start? How do I start my memoirs? Do I start with my name? Do I start researching into family history? What do I write about? What do I include and what do I not include in this memoir? And we thought this is a way of people just collecting lots and lots of memories, like a collage of all the lots of events, things that have happened to them, good things and bad things in their life, and then maybe structuring it, putting it into a memoir.
We feel that anybody could pick it up. You don't have to be a writer to pick it up. And that's
well, you could be brand new to writing, or you could be really
writing.
experienced as well, because we've got, not only we've got the prompt at the top, we've got links to related material as well, you know, links to poetry or links to plays or links to novels. So you can go away and do reading and find out more about the writers and find out more about the about creative writing. And we've also got writing advice in the book as well, so telling people to remember to use the senses, telling people to be specific when they talk about something. So there's, I think it goes from being a book for people who are new to writing, who are maybe a bit afraid or a bit scared of writing, to people who are also on an MA at university who want to learn a bit more about writing as well. It sort of straddles all of those.
But it's also that sort of very emotive side to the book, and stemming from how the idea came about, and that is, if you give that book to someone, what you're saying is, I care about you, I care about your story, you're important, tell me about yourself. And I think, you know, sort of makes me sort of quite emotional to think about it, but that's what it is. It's telling someone that you treasure them by giving them a book.